It also sounds really cool. Hi, I'm James from the Picture House, and today we're going to talk about a shoot that we've just completed for Gozney. And before we packed it all away, we thought we would talk about some of the different setups that we had for this shoot, because it was one of those shoots that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of experimentation. It was a lot of playing and trying different things and seeing what works. And as an end result, we're really happy of how the shots were looking. And it was a really fun collaborative process where the guys from Gozney came to us with their creative, then we supported them with coming up with ways of how to achieve what it was that they were looking for. Like this one, for example, where they wanted to have loads of charcoal in a speaker. The speaker was vibrating and the charcoal was flying all over the place in high speed. So our solution was to buy a PA speaker, clamp that into some C-stands, run it into a PA amplifier, and then connect that up to a laptop, which was running FL Studio, or Fruity Loops as it used to be called. And in Fruity Loops, we just use an oscillator to create a really simple sine wave, which we then pitched down using the keyboard in here in order to find the right frequency which responded well with the charcoal. So that required a little bit of testing because we needed to find the right sine wave, the right frequency, in order to get them bouncing around at the right kind of rate. Anything too high wouldn't give us the kind of bounce that we needed from the speaker, and anything too low just wasn't repeating enough. The rate wasn't giving us the velocity in order to make the charcoal fly around. So that required some fun testing. We tested the speaker out with some coffee beans to start with, and we got some pretty good results. But it didn't compare to the final shot when we actually got the charcoal, because all the different little bits of charcoal, some were bigger and heavier than others, and there's also the really fine dust as well, which created this really dynamic shot of lots of things bouncing at different heights and different rates. So we were super happy with the result and how it looked. So just to show you how this worked, essentially, we had, I've got my MacBook Pro here, which is running Red Control Pro, and this allows me to control all the settings from the camera: focus, iris, ISO, start recording, shutter angle, everything I need to do in order to control the Red. I can do it from here, while also making tweaks in Fruity Loops to the oscillator. And then in the piano roll, we just essentially pitched it down to find exactly the frequency that we wanted. And we could look at the speaker while we were doing this. Let's crank it up a little bit so you can also hear it. So going from here. You can see the rate the speaker moves is so different. And that was giving us lots of different movements from the charcoal when it was in the speaker. It also sounds really cool. So that was great as well, that we could like capture from here and we could tweak this from here all in one go. We could just respond to what the guys from Gozney were saying. If they wanted it to move more or bounce more, whatever, we could change the frequency and the velocity and the volume from the amplifier. And then we could also do playback remotely from here as well. We didn't really need to touch the camera, so it could just stay locked off there. And everything could be done from this little control desk, which was quite neat. So for our lighting setup, it's relatively straightforward. On my left here, we've got a book light, which is a massive, great big 12 by Ultra Bounce with grid cloth in front of it. We've actually got 3 1200Ds in there in order to pump loads of light into our set. We've got a backlight here, which is going to give us that specular highlight as the bits of charcoal flip through the air. That's an F10 Fresnel on a 600D. And then we've got a 30-120 on a 600X over here, just to give us a little bit of feel from the other side as well. So relatively straightforward. And then the other shot that required us to have a bit of a test and a bit of experimentation beforehand to get it right as well was the product reveal shot. So the idea from the Gozney guys was to see a bone-colored dome, but just etched out with extremely low-key lighting, so you can barely make out what it is. And then we see the crosshair off-black pattern projected across the whole scene and on the product. And then we quickly cut to a shot-matched off-black dome on the same plinth. And the only way we thought we could get it to work was using a projection. So we have a 4K laser projector, which was positioned directly under the camera in order to project the pattern of the crosshairs across the whole scene. And then we used After Effects to mask out where the product is and where the plinth is in order to get the projection to hit only the product and the plinth. And then there were a few other opportunities throughout the shoot as well, to actually just play and test and see what looked cool. It was actually nice to work with the guys and just experiment and try new things and see what it looked like, particularly when you're working with high speed. It's very difficult to see what something might look like until you play it back. So quite often we were trying different things and then playing it back, and then quite often being like pleasantly surprised. So for example, the guys were throwing charcoal dust at the different products, and then when they were lifting them up, they were creating essentially like a stencil outline on the white colorama, which looked really abstract and really cool. So hopefully that was interesting and insightful into this shoot that we did with Gozney. I want to say a massive thank you to the guys at Gozney. Their creative was great. We had loads of fun experimenting with this creative and trying different ways of coming up with solutions to what they needed to achieve in their shots. And ultimately the problem solving process for us is kind of one of the most fun bits. Seeing the shots as well coming in as we were doing them, and then everyone on set being really happy with what they were seeing was, yeah, probably the most rewarding part of this shoot. So yeah, massive thank you to those guys who really enjoy working on this project. So we've handed the footage over to the guys at Gozney, and they've done an awesome job with the edit. We've then done a bit of color grading work for them, and yeah, let's check out the final piece.